In the far reaches of the galaxy, far beyond the known star systems, Baba Yaga's dwelling sat in the shadows of a forgotten realm. It was a place where time itself seemed to fold upon itself, a space untouched by the warships and fleets of the Galactic Empire. Baba Yaga was a being of immense power, an ancient entity who commanded the forces of magic and nature, feared by those who dared to speak her name. But for all her fearsome reputation, there was nothing she loved more than her 3 sons. Her sons were not like ordinary children. They were born of the cosmos itself, with strength and intellect beyond measure. Each of them carried a spark of their mother's power, and each had a destiny intertwined with the very fabric of the universe. The eldest, Vsevolod, was a master strategist, able to foresee his enemies' every move. The middle child, Dmitri, had the power of the elements at his command, capable of bending the forces of nature to his will. And the youngest, Alexei, was a prodigy in the arcane arts, mastering spells that even the oldest sorcerers feared to attempt. For years, Baba Yaga kept her sons safe, hidden away from the prying eyes of the universe. But the Galactic Empire, ever hungry for power, had long known of their existence. They had learned of the children's potential, their untapped abilities that could make even the most advanced technology look like mere child's play. And so, they came for them. It was a night like any other when the Empire's shadowy agents, ruthless and efficient, arrived. They infiltrated Baba Yaga's sanctuary with quiet precision, their soldiers equipped with the most advanced stealth technology, cloaked in the shadows. Baba Yaga, though, sensed their presence long before they set foot on her sacred grounds. But it was too late. Her sons were taken in the dead of night, bound by the Empire's cruel devices, their cries muffled by the cold winds of the cosmos. They were extracted from the realm without a trace, pulled from the very fabric of space and time, leaving nothing behind but an empty home and a mother's broken heart. The Empire had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated Baba Yaga. In the cold silence that followed, Baba Yaga's fury burned like an unquenchable flame. The Empire had taken her sons, and now they would pay the price. No force in the universe, not even the might of the Galactic Empire, would be able to stop her from reclaiming what was hers. The hunt had begun. Baba Yaga stood alone in the heart of her abandoned sanctuary, her eyes glowing with an ancient, otherworldly fury. The silence of the void around her was deafening. Her sons were gone, taken by the Empire. But it was not just grief that consumed her. It was the searing fire of vengeance. No one dared to challenge Baba Yaga. Her very presence bent the laws of reality itself, and those foolish enough to cross her would pay dearly. With a flick of her wrist, she summoned her power, calling forth 2 ancient creatures that would be her instruments of destruction. They were not just beasts, they were living nightmares. 2 honey badgers, the deadliest creatures of the natural world, genetically altered and empowered with the dark magic Baba Yaga wielded. These weren't just any honey badgers. These were killing machines, enhanced with alien DNA, making them almost invincible. The first of the 2 was a hulking beast, its fur rippling with the telltale signs of its supernatural strength. It was fast, relentless, and possessed a cruelty born from Baba Yaga's own will. The second was smaller, but just as lethal, its eyes glinting with an intelligence beyond that of any normal animal. Together, they were a terrifying pair, bound to their mistress by unbreakable magic. Baba Yaga stood in front of a large, enchanted mirror, one of the few relics she still possessed from her time before the stars. She closed her eyes and focused her mind, tracing the path of her sons. The Empire's forces had scattered them across the galaxy, each son imprisoned in a different fortress, each one a pawn in their twisted games. With a sharp exhale, Baba Yaga reached into the ether, and the magic rippled outward. The honey badgers leaped into action, the air around them crackling with energy as they disappeared into the dark corners of space. Their mission was simple: find her sons and destroy anyone who dared to stand in their way. The first target was an imperial stronghold on the moon of Zidor, a desolate place known for its impenetrable security and unyielding forces. The Empire believed they were safe here, their technological defenses guarding the prisoners deep within the fortress. But they had not accounted for Baba Yaga's wrath. The honey badgers, like shadows, moved with terrifying precision, slipping past layers of security with ease. The entire battalion of Imperial Guards, trained, armed, and ready for any intruder, stood no chance. In mere minutes, the creatures had torn through the lines, breaking necks, shattering bones, and leaving nothing but carnage in their wake. In the heart of the fortress, Baba Yaga's power materialized as she walked through the air itself, her form flickering like a specter. The last of the Imperial forces fell before her, their blasters useless against the overwhelming force of her magic. Her honey badgers stood by her side, their bloodlust sated for the moment, but their hunger for destruction was far from quenched. She reached the control room where her son, Vsevolod, was held in a high-tech containment cell. His once bright eyes were dulled by the harsh experiments and constant monitoring of the Empire. But when he saw his mother, the spark of recognition and hope reignited. With a wave of her hand, Baba Yaga shattered the containment field. Her son was free. "Mother," Vsevolod whispered, his voice filled with both relief and awe. "I thought I would never see you again." Baba Yaga's expression softened for a moment, but the fire within her never died. "They will pay for taking you, my son. Kulme, we must go." The honey badgers flanked them as they made their way out of the stronghold. Nothing stood in their way now. As they exited the fortress, the moon of Zidor began to tremble. The Empire's once impenetrable base, now nothing more than a smoldering ruin. Baba Yaga's vengeance had begun, and she was just getting started. The Empire had no idea what horrors awaited them as she hunted down her other sons and erased the very existence of those who dared to imprison them. With Vsevolod by her side and the honey badgers unleashed, Baba Yaga set her sights on the next target, the Empire's capital, the heart of their sprawling military machine. Her wrath was just beginning, and the galaxy would soon learn to fear the name Baba Yaga once more. The air around Baba Yaga crackled with dark energy as she and her sons, now reunited, moved with purpose through the galaxy. The path to the Empire's capital, Varix, was long and treacherous, but Baba Yaga's fury knew no bounds. The honey badgers, now fully attuned to the hunt, bounded alongside them, relentless, untamed, and eager for more destruction. With each passing moment, the very stars seemed to bow before the coming storm. Varix was the heart of the Galactic Empire, a sprawling metropolis of towering spires and endless industrial complexes. It was a place where the Empire's greatest warriors were forged, where the elite lived in luxury while the rest of the galaxy suffered beneath their rule. The planet was covered in a thick layer of smog, a reflection of the Empire's insatiable hunger for control. The capital was protected by fleets of warships, legions of soldiers, and layers upon layers of security. But none of it would stop Baba Yaga as they approached the planet. Baba Yaga's eyes glowed with a cold, unyielding fire. The Empire had dared to take what was hers, and now it was time to make them pay. Her honey badgers, sensing her determination, grew even more restless, their claws scraping against the ground as if eager to tear through the Empire's defenses. A fleet of Imperial warships lay in wait, orbiting the planet like vultures, their sensors scanning for any signs of intruders. But they were no match for Baba Yaga's magic. With a simple gesture, she bent the very fabric of space, slipping through the Empire's detection systems like a shadow. The warships fired upon the empty void, their blasts dissipating harmlessly into the nothingness. Baba Yaga and her sons appeared above the capital like a dark omen, the heavens themselves seeming to split open in their wake. The skies above Varix lit up with flashes of energy, as if the very planet was waking up to the fury that had descended upon it. The Imperial fleet scrambled, but they were too slow. The honey badgers led the charge, diving into the heart of the city with savage precision, tearing through anything in their path. The first wave of Imperial defenses crumbled under the onslaught. The ground shook as Baba Yaga's magic rained down from the skies, turning buildings to dust and streets to rubble. The Empire's elite forces, trained to face any threat, were nothing compared to the wrath of an ancient sorceress and her genetically enhanced predators. As they descended into the heart of the capital, the streets erupted in chaos. Imperial soldiers fled in terror, their blasters useless against the overwhelming force of Baba Yaga's power. She walked unchallenged through the streets, her eyes burning with a righteous fury that sent waves of fear through the Empire's finest. The honey badgers tore through the ranks of soldiers, leaving nothing but mangled corpses in their wake. Baba Yaga and her sons made their way to the Imperial Citadel, the tallest structure in the city, towering above the ruins of what was once a shining symbol of the Empire's might. The Citadel's defenses were formidable, with energy shields protecting the entrance and armed guards positioned at every corner. But Baba Yaga's magic was unmatched. With a wave of her hand, the energy shields flickered and collapsed, the Citadel's doors swinging open as if to welcome her wrath. Inside, the Imperial leadership cowered in their high-tech control rooms, their trembling voices desperate to call for reinforcements. But no help was coming. Not now. Baba Yaga had arrived. The Citadel's interior was a labyrinth of sterile, metallic corridors. The walls hummed with the sound of machinery and the buzz of high-tech sensors. But it was all useless. Baba Yaga's magic warped the very air, suffocating the life from the sterile halls and turning the once grand structure into a tomb. The honey badgers, now bloodied but still hungry for more, stalked through the corridors, dispatching any who dared to stand in their way to the heart of the Citadel. The Imperial commanders, the architects of this brutal regime, waited for the inevitable. They had long thought themselves invincible, hidden behind layers of technology and fortified walls. But they had made a fatal error in underestimating the true power of Baba Yaga. She entered the command center with her sons by her side, her eyes glowing with a terrifying, otherworldly light. The Imperial commanders, once proud and arrogant, now trembled before her. They had sent thousands to their deaths, but now they would face the consequence of their actions. "You took my sons," Baba Yaga said, her voice cold and unforgiving. "Now you will pay." The honey badgers stood guard as Baba Yaga raised her hands, summoning the full force of her magic. The walls of the command center shook as her power swelled, filling the room with an energy so intense that it seemed to crack the very air around them. The commanders tried to resist, calling upon their last reserves of strength and technology, but it was futile. In an instant, Baba Yaga's wrath consumed them, and the Empire's leadership was no more. The Citadel, once a symbol of the Empire's dominance, now lay in ruins, and the heart of the Empire had been torn out. Baba Yaga and her sons stood victorious amidst the wreckage, their enemies vanquished. But Baba Yaga's vengeance was far from over. The Empire's influence stretched across the stars, and there was still more to be punished. The galaxy had only begun to feel the weight of her fury.
Baba Yaga stood amidst the ruins of the Imperial Citadel, her sons by her side, her eyes burning with the same intense fury that had driven her across the galaxy. The shattered remains of the once proud structure of Varix now lay in the dust, the echoes of destruction still reverberating in the empty streets. The Empire's leadership had been eradicated, their attempts at control crushed beneath the weight of a mother's vengeance. But Baba Yaga was not done. Her sons, Vsevolod, Dmitri, and Alexei, stood beside her, their forms altered by the Empire's cruel experiments. But there was a spark of recognition in their eyes, the same defiant fire that Baba Yaga had passed down to them, a spark that no empire could extinguish. They were free, and now it was time for them to reclaim their destinies. "Mother," Alexei said, his voice thick with both gratitude and remorse. "The Empire's cruelty. I thought we would never escape. I thought we were lost." Baba Yaga looked at her youngest son. Her expression softened for a brief moment before the storm within her surged once again. "You're never lost, my son. They underestimated me, and they underestimated you." Her voice turned cold, resolute. "Now, we bring an end to their tyranny. Her honey badgers, still prowling the perimeter of the citadel like vigilant sentinels, seemed to sense her words. Their ears twitched, and their bloodshot eyes gleamed with the same hunger they had shown from the start. Baba Yaga had summoned them not only for destruction, but for protection. They had been with her since the beginning, loyal companions in a quest for vengeance. Vsevolod, the eldest, placed a hand on his mother's shoulder. His once calm, calculating demeanor had been shattered by the cruelty of the Empire, but now there was only a thirst for justice in his eyes. "The galaxy is vast, Mother," he said, "and the Empire's influence reaches farther than just Varix. We need to act swiftly before their remnants regroup." Baba Yaga turned her gaze toward the stars. The Empire's reach was indeed far, but they were scattered now, broken in spirit and leadership. They would not rise again. With a deep breath, she closed her eyes, the power of the ancient magics swirling around her like a storm. "We will end this," she said softly. "I will end this." With a surge of her power, she reached out across the galaxy, her magic stretching into every corner of the Empire's once mighty territories. She targeted their strongholds, their factories, their supply lines. Every thread of their power was severed. Her presence filled the void of space itself, and the remnants of the Empire felt her wrath as if it were a physical force pressing down upon them. Whole fleets of warships were torn apart in the blink of an eye. Entire cities turned to rubble, and the very fabric of Imperial control unraveled before her. Meanwhile, her sons began to reclaim what was once theirs. Vsevolod, with his tactical genius, retook the planets and stations that had once been their prison, spreading their mother's message of defiance and liberation. Dmitri, with his elemental powers, tore through Imperial strongholds, cleansing the galaxy of the Empire's corruption with storms of fire and lightning. Alexei, with his mastery of arcane knowledge, sought out the remnants of the Empire's most dangerous experiments, ensuring no trace of their twisted science remained. But Baba Yaga's work was far from over. She had not only sought revenge for her sons, but for every soul oppressed by the Empire's cruelty. The galaxy was her domain, and no one, not even the stars themselves, could escape her reach in the final moments, as the last remnants of the Empire's power crumbled. Baba Yaga's 2 honey badgers stood tall, their bloodlust finally sated. The mother and her sons looked out across the galaxy, a galaxy that had, for too long, been chained by tyranny. "The galaxy is free," Vsevolod said, his voice filled with a solemn realization. Baba Yaga nodded, her eyes dark with satisfaction. "No one will ever forget what they did to us. No one will forget the cost of crossing a mother." The galaxy had learned a powerful lesson that day. For when a mother's wrath is unleashed, nothing in the universe can stand in her way. Not armies, not empires, not even the cold expanse of space itself. The Empire was no more, and Baba Yaga, the Witch of the Void, had brought an end to their reign of terror. Her sons were free, and she had shown them the true power of family, love, and vengeance. As the stars burned bright above, they knew that no force could ever break them again. And so, the legend of Baba Yaga, the mother who tore the Empire apart, would echo through the ages, a story told by those who remembered what it meant to defy the darkness.